In this video, I'm going to be unboxing and reviewing this Kaiweets smart multimeter. Model number is km201. And pretty much it's one of these pocket-sized multimeters that you can fit into a pouch easily or into your pocket if need be. And the reason why they call it a smart multimeter is because it automatically switches the mode that you're trying to measure. Like if you're trying to measure a resistor, it'll switch in. If you're trying to do continuance, it'll switch to that mode, or voltage AC or DC. So I'm going to go ahead and unbox it, and we'll go ahead and show you what you would get in the box pretty much. And here you go. And in the box, of course, you get the user manual. And here you go. Let me go ahead and see how it is. And you can see there it kind of gives you an overview and stuff like that, the multimeter itself and measurements and so forth. Okay, so that's the manual right there, and then here's the meter itself. So here we go. We'll go ahead and unbox it. And it does also include two AAAs, which is nice that it runs off regular AAAs, because then that way you don't gotta find coin cell battery. And underneath it, here you go ahead and actually get a pouch, I guess, to carry it in too as well. So it does actually come with a pouch, so you can go and slide it in there when you're done using and so forth. And these are actually pretty useful as far as being a pocket meter, because let's just say you're into buying amplifiers or whatever the case is, you can go ahead and take this with you in your pocket easy, or leave it in your car and use it to test to see there's DC on the output and so forth. Or if you're buying, you know, old CRTs or whatever, you can see the filament's still good and so forth. So these come quite in handy, and you can see there the lead itself is actually permanently attached to the meter. But I'm gonna go and insert the batteries into it, and then we'll go ahead and give it a test pretty much. So I went ahead and took the battery door over, and I already like what I see kind of right here, the fact that it has a threaded insert and stuff like that. So as you're changing batteries in and out, you don't gotta worry about, like some use self-tappers and stuff like that, wearing off the screw hole because it's being inserted into metal and stuff. Pretty nicely laid out. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick teardown of it real quick, and I'll show you how it looks in the inside pretty much. So here's an inside look at the Kaiweets KM201 smart multimeter, and this also does have true RMS as it says on the manual. We'll go ahead and test that too, of course, but either way it goes, here's an inside look. You can see there's the resistor divider right there for the high voltage. You can see it does have some dial clamping as well. No PTC or MOS or anything like that, but this does not measure current, and you wouldn't use this in a category 3 or 4 situation or anything like that. This meter is pretty much made to use around the house and stuff. You want to measure voltages, or if you're measuring car battery, or if you're measuring to see if an outlet's working or not and so forth. And that's what its design purpose is pretty much. Now here you can see the back of the battery door, and right there it contacts there, so there's no wire going across that you got to worry about when you take the case ripping off or anything like that. You can see it's a blob chip there as far as the multimeter chipset. You can see right there the buzzer, the LED, and then that of course is for your AC voltage detection right there for the probe. You can see right there, for the price, not too bad actually. So I'm going to go and get this back together, and we're going to get batteries into it, and we'll go and do some testing. So here's the Kaiweets Pocket Smart Meter. Compare size-wise to my older Amp Pro Pocket multimeter. That one does an auto switch. You just pick what mode you want and then select it, where this one here pretty much auto switches to resistance and depending on AC and DC and so forth. It doesn't do capacitance and it doesn't do current, so keep that in mind. But overall, pretty similar size. This one here is a little bit longer and of course a little bit thicker, but it does still fit into the pocket multimeter category pretty much. The leads, they actually feel nice. They're flexible. They're not stiff or anything. Even when it's a little bit colder, they still feel pretty flexible, so you can easily untangle and so forth. They're about similar size as far as thickness goes on the cable and stuff like most pocket multimeters, so not an issue there. So now we're going to go ahead and do testing. We'll first go ahead, I guess, start with true RMS and stuff. So in this video, I'm testing true RMS capabilities of it, and pretty much where the switching where I'll have problem, because on these smart multimeters you know, it depends on what you're actually doing. You're measuring resistor or voltage, and depending on the voltage, if it's too low, sometimes these meters get confused and so forth, and have a problem deciding what mode it is, and there's no manual way, of course, to override that. So let's just go ahead and see. And right now, I'm feeding in 1 volt RMS and 60 hertz right now, and you can see no problem right there. So let's just go down one. Let's go down 100 millivolts. All right, and even then, still hanging on. So actually doing pretty good. And you can see there it's measuring about what the adjunct's measuring, though the adjunct's a little bit more accurate. But you gotta remember, this is a 2000 count meter, so it's definitely well within spec, no problem. Let's go 0.7 now. Sorry for the wire blocking it. And yeah, that's what I was talking about. So, yep, as soon as you get, and you can see there, it went ahead, but you can see there it had a problem. It kind of hesitated, you know, a little bit and so forth, and was trying to go in resistance mode, but it did come back around. But yep, right now we're feeding about 800 millivolts RMS, no problem, and it's still picking up. So let's go down one more. Actually, I went down 2 more. Let's go down 1 more. Let's go back up. And right now I'm feeding about 700 millivolts RMS, and you can see there, yeah, the meter does not like that. It's saying auto right now, and it's having a hard time. Let's just keep going down. And you can see at 500, yep, and you can see now it's thinking it's a resistor. Now it's trying to figure out, is it in resistance mode, or am I measuring voltage, or whatever the case is. So it confused the smart meter pretty much. And that's one of the things I come across with these smart meters, which is common. Not to say no, I'm actually shocked though that it can do 1 volt no problem. So I mean, it's still pretty good. I mean, because let's face it, anyone buying one of these meters are not going to use it to measure millivolts or whatever. Most of the time they're going to be using it to measure what's coming out the AC mains on an outlet or whatever, test to see if an outlet's good. That's what these meters are pretty much made for, you know. They're not made for, you know, very precise voltages and stuff like that. But now at least you know anything below 800 and lower millivolts, yeah, it's gonna have a hard problem switching, because it's trying to determine, is this a resistor or am I actually measuring voltage and so forth. So, and unfortunately there's no way you can override it. You know, you can't just hit this function key here, because the function will only do, and I'll show you, you know, you can do the NZV, which is the voltage detection for, like, if you're trying to measure if a wire's hot through the sensor right here. It does, of course, live, and then it does for your phase. And this is actually a nice feature. This feature I can actually see being useful, because if you want to see the rotation of a motor, of course, if you're doing a 3-phase motor or whatever the case is, you can see what phase is on. So, you know, that's actually a nice function to have on it. And then here, of course, you can go back to auto, and you can see right there at 1 volt RMS, 60 hertz, it's no problem. So now I'm going to go ahead and set the generator up to do 1 kilohertz, and we'll see if it can still measure about 1 kilohertz signal, no problem, in true RMS. So I went ahead and set the generator up to put out 1 kilohertz now instead of 60 hertz, and you can see on there, pretty good. It's hanging in there, no problem, and it's pretty accurate actually, so that's good. Let's just go up, and we'll go up to, you know, we'll keep going up there. And we're going about 100 hertz steps, by the way. And we'll see where it starts to drop off at. And you can see there, and yeah, it starts to drop off right around there, yep. So let's go back 1, let's go back 2, where it's pretty much accurate. Okay, I'm just going up slowly so I can see where it really starts to fall off at, where it's no longer accurate. Okay, we're getting close there. I mean, okay, right about there. So right about there, it's a usable measurement. And just let me go ahead and look at the generator real quick. You can see there we're at 1.3 kilohertz. So at 1.3 kilohertz, this meter is actually useful. There, of course, Keysight one is actually can do up to 100 kilohertz, no problem. But there you go. So yeah, pretty good. So now we're gonna go ahead and see how it is on pretty much AC mains, and right now I'm putting 120 volts. You can see on the panel meter right there, and the meter is exactly reading 120 volts, no problem. And here you go. We'll go ahead and go down. You can see 117 it's accurately. 107, 106. So yeah, it's pretty accurate. Let's just go all the way down. That's nice that it got, okay, so let's see now where that red LED comes up, letting you know that there's higher voltages too there, to be careful. 43 volts is there, alright. Let's just keep going up. 50 volts, still no warning. Okay, let's go up. 60 volt, no warning. 70 volt, no warning. So about 80 volts, let's just see exactly. Yep, so exactly 80 volts is where it starts to give you the high voltage warning, where the LCD itself turns, reddish color. And let's just go all the way up. Let's just see. So we got 169 volts, and you can see there it's reading about 169 volts. So yeah, I would say it's fairly accurate, at least as far as going to panel meter. Panel meter is not high resolution or anything like that. It's good enough. You know what I mean? This is only a 2000 count meter, and of course the panel meter itself is not gonna be very accurate either. But yep, I would say it's within spec, and it does give you like a high voltage alert as far as the LCD turning, red itself, letting you know that you're putting higher voltages through there, or at least dangerous voltages and stuff. So at about 80 volts and higher. So yep, it does pretty good. Now we're gonna go ahead and do some DC measurements on this. So went ahead and turned on this mini rare power supply. We're gonna go ahead and use as a DC voltage source pretty much, and you can see there the key sight's pretty much bang on to what the actual top display is reading right there, and the Kaiweets is also pretty close to as well. So yeah, I would say dead within spec, no problem. But let's go below that and see what happens when we drop the voltage. Okay. So we'll select that. And yep, there you go. So like I said, anything below 800 millivolts, yeah, it has a problem trying to pretty much, auto detect what mode it's in. And let's just go down further and see if when it goes into resistance. Okay, so yeah, there you go. Now it thinks it's measuring a resistor and so forth, and you can see there what the voltage says on the key sight, but the Kaiweets thinks it's a resistor. So let's go up. Still thinks resistor. Okay. And we'll see when it comes back around, and now it's just saying auto, but it's not doing anything. We'll leave it there for a second. Nope, nothing. So then we'll go back up to, around 800 millivolts. You can see there. Now it comes back around. So anything it seems like above 800 millivolts, it's fine. But below 800 millivolts, this meter cannot measure because it thinks it's a resistor. Okay, 900. We'll just go up to see how accurate it measures pretty much. Alright. Okay, let's just go up to 2 volts. And yeah, you can see very accurate there, so not a problem. Let's just go up to 5 volt right there. Okay, not a problem. Let's just go up to 15 volts. Well, actually, we'll go 14.8. Yep, okay, we'll go ahead and go 14.6. Let's go 15, alright. 15's not a problem. Okay. Let's go up to 20. 20 volts is not a problem, pretty accurate. Definitely well within spec. Okay. Okay, and then we got 25.3. This is do 20 even, and that's 20 even. Okay. Let's go up to 30 volts, and you can see there, not a problem. So as far as measuring voltages and stuff like that above 800 millivolts on AC or DC, it seems to be fairly accurate. And of course, as you saw earlier, it is a true RMS meter too as well, and it can measure voltages pretty accurately up to 1.3 kilohertz, and that's when it drops off. So definitely well within spec. One thing that I like about this meter is the fact that you can see right there, it got a probe holder in the back, and you can actually set up a probe like this pretty much. And it got a couple different interesting features on here. One of them being the NCV, which is the sensor right here, and if you put that by hot wire, of course, it'll go ahead and tell you if it's hot or not. The other mode that this thing has too as well is you can actually use the probe itself right here. And for example, if I want to go ahead and see which is the neutral, I can go and stick that to the neutral right there. But if I want to see what the hot side is, you can see there, it tells you, yep, that side's hot right there, and even flashes and gives you an audible warning and stuff like that. So pretty nice feature actually. The other thing too, of course, it has phase, so if you're wiring a 3-phase motor and stuff, you can make sure you're wiring correctly and so forth, and you'll get the right rotation, of course. But yeah, I had to show that live feature on there, and pretty nifty feature. So one function we do gotta test is the continuous tester right there, and you'll use this function essentially to see if a trace is broken, a wire is broken, or there's a short circuit or whatever the case is. You can do that with this meter. So let's just see how fast it is, and of course you restrict it to the built-in leads to the meter, but you can see it's fairly reasonable, and it does latch to as well, so not bad actually. So now we'll go ahead and pretty much right here we'll go ahead and test this 10 ohm resistor right there, and you can see it's a 3%er. So let's just go ahead and try to get this close. I'm gonna do this with one hand, so bear with me. And no, I can't do it. All right, let's try another value. So here we go. We got a 0.1 ohm of a resistor, and that's a 1%er right there. So let's see if we can do that, and yeah, it thinks it's in continuous, just seeing it like if it's a dead short. So low value resistors, it doesn't do pretty much at all. Let's just go ahead and see higher value resistors right there. And yeah, I would say that one's pretty accurate compared to the color code that's on the resistor itself. Let's go and try a 1.5K now. So higher value resistors is not a problem, but low value resistors should read about 1.4K or something like that, give or take. Well, of course, if I get it obviously on the actual tip. Bear with me. Yeah, there you go. And yep, it reads 1.5K, so it's not a problem. So higher value resistors is not a problem, but any really low value resistors, it seems to get confused and it goes back and forth to continuous or to reading the value. We'll go ahead and just try it one more time. We'll go ahead and try this value here. And yeah, it's not even giving you a reading. Even push down very hard on it, there's no reading whatsoever. And same thing even with, let's just try this again. We're just going to give it another shot. And yeah, it's confusing. I got that pushed down on the tip. Yeah, and it just thinks it's going to continuous mode, and that's pushing down on it really hard. So yeah, on lower value resistors, it's a no pretty much. But if you're measuring like a 1.5K or something like that, it's not a problem with this meter. So my final thoughts on this Kaiweets model number km201 smart multimeter. I say it's a useful tool, and it's a useful meter like if you want to keep a meter in the car, or you want to go ahead and keep a meter in the house and stuff like that, and you're testing, let's say, outlets, you're going ahead seeing the wires live or not, or if you're using to test the battery or so forth to see if there's voltage like your car battery, if there's 12 volts or not, Or if you want to go and test the alternator, obviously see it's putting actually a charge voltage to it, like 14.7 or whatever the case is. Yep, very useful for that, and it's nice and small. You can put this in your pocket, and it's also a true RMS meter too as well, so pretty nifty. And then it also got other functions, like you can go ahead and put your red probe on there. If you want to go ahead and see if that side of the contact's live or not, you can. You just go into live mode, and you can put your red probe on there and use one hand essentially to see if that contact's live or if it's neutral. So that's another nifty feature. And then it also got the NCV sensor right here too. So if you put this by a hot wire, it'll pick up if that wire is hot or not, or if it's dead. So that's another nifty feature. And then it also has one which is for phase. So if you're wiring a 3-phase motor or whatever the case is, you can make sure you got it wired correctly, and that way the motor is actually rotating correctly and so forth. So yeah, it does got some nifty features. Now, the cons about this thing is the fact that it struggles or doesn't even at all read anything below 800 millivolts. So if you're trying to read millivolts or whatever the case is, this is definitely not the meter. And that's because it's confusing the meter, thinking it's measuring a resistor, or it doesn't know if it's measuring voltage or not. So anything below 800 millivolts, it struggles. And then also with low value resistors as well too. Anything like 10 ohms, as you saw, and I did it twice just to make sure that I was even rubbing the resistor across the contacts, and it still was not able to auto range and pick up if it was in resistor or continuity. It was going back and forth. But high value resistors, it's not a problem. And you know, as a continuous tester, it's not a problem either. You can figure out if something's short, if a circuit's shorted or not, or if you got a broken trace or whatever the case is. So yeah, it's still quite a handy meter to keep around if you're just looking for do basic measurements or whatever the case is. And that's pretty much what it's designed for. It's not designed for any precision measurements or anything like that. Also too, got the backlight you can turn on and off. I wish they did though, however, make one where you can go out of auto range and go into manual range and then be able to switch it. I would like to see that in the upcoming version of this or whatever the case is. That would make it a lot more useful, whatever the case is. But yeah, for the price point and stuff, I can't complain. It's actually a decent pocket meter for the price. It's built pretty well. You know what I mean? Yeah, it doesn't got no MOS or PTC or whatever the case is, but you're not going to use this in a category 3 or category 4 scenario. And it doesn't have any current measurements or whatever the case is, so it doesn't actually really need it. But overall, it's definitely a decent smart meter for the price, at least. And in my video, I will put a link, of course, you know, where you can get a discount or whatever the case is. So watch in the description or whatever the case is, and then click on the link if you're interested in purchasing one, pretty much.